Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin this discussion with a heavy heart and deep empathy for all those affected by the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Today, we're delving into a topic that touches the very soul of humanity: football's intricate relationship with conflict and tragedy. As we embark on this journey, let us remember the countless lives affected by the turmoil and strife in the region, because, in the end, it's not just about the game, it's about the lives it touches and the stories it unfolds. UEFA's silent omission. It's 36 hours after a shocking Hamas attack on Israel, and you're expecting a heartfelt response from European football's governing body, UEFA. They release a statement about postponing Israel's upcoming matches, but something is missing. They mention the current security situation in Israel, but there's no reference to the hundreds of lives lost or condolences to the grieving nation. It's puzzling, isn't it? Israel is set to host the UEFA Under-19 European Championship in 2027, and its football community is in mourning after a former player, Lior Aslan, was tragically murdered by Hamas gunmen at a music festival near the Gaza border. Contrasting responses. Let's put this into perspective. UEFA took just a few hours last month to announce their support for non-member Morocco after a tragic earthquake. In 2016, they swiftly sent condolences to France following a terrorist attack in Nice. The world watched as Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, and both UEFA and FIFA issued a joint statement condemning the war and expressing their unity and solidarity with the people affected in Ukraine. However, when it comes to the Israel-Hamas war, football's response has been shockingly silent. FIFA president's Instagram posts. While the Israel-Hamas conflict rages on, FIFA president Gianni Infantino seems to have other priorities. He's been sharing Instagram posts from his visit to the Qatar F1 Grand Prix, pictures from former Brazil star Ronaldo's wedding, and various birthday greetings. He did issue condolences for the earthquake in Afghanistan over the weekend, but there hasn't been a word from FIFA about the loss of life in the Middle East. This silence raises a troubling question about football's response to such atrocities. Illuminating Arch of Wembley. Now, let's talk about symbolism. Wembley Stadium, one of the most iconic football arenas, illuminated its arch in the colors of Ukraine's flag just a day after Russia's invasion. Yet, the blue and white of Israel's flag is yet to be seen there. It's a stark reminder of how complex football's response can be when it comes to showing solidarity with victims of attacks. UK Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser expressed her disappointment over the organization's choice not to illuminate the iconic Wembley Arch in the colors of the Israeli flag ahead of an England-Australia friendly match. The government had called on sports bodies to appropriately acknowledge the events taking place in Israel and Palestine. Instead of complying with the request to light up the stadium with the Israeli flag's colors, the FA chose to opt for a moment of silence and having players wear black armbands to honor the victims of the ongoing conflict. This decision, though an attempt at recognizing the suffering, did not sit well with some. What makes this situation even more complex is the fact that Wembley Stadium has strict regulations regarding the representation of nationalities during events. This includes flags and bands, which are limited to those of the participating teams, in this case, England and Australia. This adds a layer of complexity to the discussion of how sports venues engage with global events. Premier League silence. Speaking of complexity, the Premier League, which corporately adopted the Ukraine flag last year, held no moment of solidarity before its weekend matches. However, the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS, urged sporting organizations to mark the events. In line with previous events, they're encouraging the sports world to take a stand, and it's an important step. A voice from the Premier League. But let's not forget those who dare to speak out. Ibrahim Kadra, a Premier League reporter for beIN Sports, expressed his frustration over what he called a policy of double standards. He was asked to remove a Palestinian keffiyeh at a recent Arsenal vs Manchester City match. His words highlight the challenges faced by those trying to bring attention to the suffering in the region. The Premier League has yet to respond to his concerns. Celtic's firm stance. Lior Abada, a talented Israeli and Celtic player who found himself in uncharted waters. His association with Israel triggered a wave of turmoil. A Celtic support group known as the Green Brigade. They expressed solidarity with Palestine, a powerful and controversial stance that made shockwaves. This prompted the club's board to make a difficult decision: to distance itself from the support group's message. But it wasn't just the club's board that was caught in this whirlwind. Lior Abada found himself under intense pressure from his home country, Israel, to sever ties with Celtic. It's a sentiment that his fellow teammate, Israel international Dolev Haziza, echoed publicly. These athletes were suddenly at the center of a complex, emotionally charged political storm. In the midst of it all, Celtic's management chose to stand by Abada. They acknowledged the unbelievable abuse he endured on social media because of his association with the club during the Gaza crisis. It's a stark reminder of the power and ugliness that social media can bring into the lives of public figures, even in the world of sports. Double standards. Yusuf Kabadé, playing for Schalke, decides to use his voice to express solidarity with Palestine on social media. He shares a simple message: I stand with Palestine. But what follows is anything but simple. His post, meant to show support for a cause close to his heart, is met with swift condemnation from his own employer. The pressure mounts, and Yusuf Kabadé is forced to issue a public apology. It's a powerful reminder of the challenging terrain that athletes navigate when they wade into the waters of politics, especially in a conflict as sensitive and polarizing as this. In a striking contrast, another player, Daniel Peretz, who happens to play for Bayern Munich, voices his support for Israel following a recent attack by Hamas. But here's the kicker. Unlike Kabadé, Peretz faces no repercussions for his pro-Israel statement. It's a glaring disparity in how these two players were treated, and it raises some fundamental questions about how we should handle athletes' political views in the world of football. A hierarchy of tragedies. The key question that lingers is whether football, at times, appears to create a hierarchy of tragedies, where some events are deemed more important than others. Several people are feared dead or missing following the recent attacks, but the silence from the football community on the mass slaughter in Israel is deafening. It's a topic that needs our attention and reflection. FIFA's missed opportunities. FIFA has had opportunities to step in as a force for peace and reconciliation. For instance, in 2020, President Gianni Infantino attended the White House for the signing of normalization agreements between the UAE, Bahrain, and Israel. He emphasized that football could play a role in ending rivalries and fostering goodwill in the region. Last year, an agreement allowed Israeli and Palestinian fans to attend the World Cup in Qatar, providing a platform for improving relations across the Middle East. But there are moments when football steps away from these opportunities, creating a perception that some lives matter less than others. Conclusion. So, as we reflect on football's complex relationship with conflict and tragedy, it's clear that there's more to the beautiful game than what happens on the pitch. It's about how football responds when the world needs it most. And that's a story we'll continue to watch and discuss as we hope for a more compassionate, united, and inclusive world, both on and off the field. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next video.